This lecture focuses on stress and the implications of stress for managers and how we can perhaps manage stress in today's work environment, personally and obviously as an organization. Stress is obviously caused by many factors. One of them happens to be change. So change involves making something different in the workplace. When change is an intentional goal-oriented activity, we call that a planned change. So if we have planned changes in the workplace, we should also have planned programs for effectively managing the stress that comes as a result of all the change that employees experience in their day-to-day life in the workplace. So there are two goals of planned change: to improve the ability of the firm to adapt to the changes in its environment, or to change a behavior on employees or teams and groups of employees. Research shows that organizational changes incorporating organizational and behavior knowledge of how people react to stressors may actually yield more effective results than organizational changes that are only objectively managed through goal setting. Changes are stressful because employees perceive aspects of the change to be threatening to them professionally and obviously personally. Employees need to see the changes as fair. Stress is an unpleasant psychological process that occurs in response to environmental pressures that seem to be important and somehow uncertain for us. According to researchers, stress is a dynamic condition where an employee or a person is confronted with either an opportunity, constraint, or a demand for which the outcome is perceived to be uncertain as well as important to the individual. These dynamic conditions, when they're not managed effectively, can actually lead to physiological, psychological, as well as behavioral symptoms on the part of the employees. So stress, which is an unavoidable consequence of life, occurs at all levels of the organization as a result of many factors, including time pressure, personal conflicts, and the quantity of work expected to be completed at a given time. There are many, many sources of stress. So obviously, work conflict, interpersonal conflicts, team conflicts, priorities, time pressures, all seem to be just a few of them in the workplace. Research suggests that job conditions that cause stress show some difference across cultures. For example, American employees are stressed by a lack of control, whereas Chinese employees are stressed by job evaluations and lack of training. Research also shows that stress is equally bad for employees of all cultures and all countries when it's not managed effectively. So the three consequences of stress that are often discussed by researchers seem to be physiological symptoms, psychological symptoms, and behavioral symptoms. For physiological symptoms, research supports the link between job stress and poor health. So when employees are sick, obviously, they don't come to work. They're not productive. So that's not very good for the productivity of the employee or the department. In terms of psychological symptoms, job dissatisfaction is one of the obvious causes of stress. Regarding behavioral symptoms, it can basically include reduction in productivity, absence, turnover, as well as changes in eating habits, increased, let's say, smoking habits, or even consumption of alcoholic beverages, rapid speech, fidgeting, and even sleep disorders for employees. Because low to moderate levels of stress can be functional and lead to higher performance, managers may not be concerned when employees experience stress at these levels. However, what management considers to be a positive stimulus that keeps the adrenaline running is very likely to be seen as excessive pressure by some employees, if not all. Individual approaches to managing stress can include the fact that an employee can take personal responsibility for reducing his or her stress level. Other strategies can include time management techniques, increased physical exercise, relaxation techniques, expanded social support networks. In terms of organizational approaches, several factors that cause stress are controlled by management, especially when it comes to deadlines, delegations, in the pressure to outperform the previous day, the previous week, the previous quarter, the previous year, and so on. So those can be managed by managers. Task and role demands can be modified or changed based on how the individual handles them and how much stress it imposes upon individuals. So other strategies can include better selection in placement of candidates with the job requirement, goal setting, redesigning jobs, employee involvement, organizational communication effectiveness, employee sabbaticals, wellness programs. In terms of selection and placement, individuals with little experience or an external locus of control tend to be more prone to stress. Selection and placement decisions should take these facts into consideration. Goals can reduce stress as well as provide motivation. Employees who are highly committed to their goals and see purpose in their jobs experience less stress. You can redesign the jobs to give employees more responsibility, more meaningful work, more autonomy, and increased feedback can reduce stress because these factors give employees greater level of control over their work activities. It also lessens dependence on others. Engaging of employees or employee involvement can be a factor in reducing stress. Role stress is detrimental to a large extent because employees feel uncertain about goals, expectations, how they will be evaluated, and so on. Giving employees a voice in management decisions can increase employee control and reduce role stress. Managers should consider increasing employee involvement in decision making, especially when it has a link to the employee's job or tasks. Communication can be very helpful. Increasing formal organizational communication with all employees tend to reduce uncertainty by lessening role ambiguity as well as role conflict. So given the importance that perception play in moderating stress response relationship, management can also use effective communications as a means to shape employees' perceptions. Employee sabbaticals can be helpful because oftentimes workers need an occasional escape from the fast pace of their work environment. These sabbaticals can range in length from a few days to a few weeks to a few months, which allow employees to travel, relax, or even to pursue personal projects that consume time beyond normal vacations. Corporate wellness programs typically provide workshops to help people quit smoking, control drug addictions, lose weight, eat better, and develop a regular exercise program. Focus on the employee's total physical and mental conditions obviously is a very important part of any wellness program. So what are some of the implications for managers in the workplace? Consider that as a manager, you are a change agent in your organization. The decisions you make in your role modeling behaviors will help shape the company's change culture and manage stress more effectively. Your management policies and practices will determine the degree to which the organization learns and adapts to changing environmental factors. Some stress can be good. This is what we call EU stress. Unfortunately, the opposite side is distress, which is the negative stress or bad stress. So we need to be able to manage the bad stress and take advantage of, obviously, the positive stress or E stress. Low to moderate amounts of stress enable many employees to perform their jobs better by increasing their work intensity, alertness, and even the ability to react or respond. This is especially true if stress arises due to challenges on the job rather than hindrances that prevent employees from doing their jobs effectively. You can help alleviate harmful workplace stress for your employees by accurately matching workloads to employees, providing employees with stress coping resources in responding to their concerns in a timely manner. You can identify extreme stress in your employees when performance declines. when turnover increases, when health-related absenteeism increases, when engagement of employees with their jobs declines. Stay alert for early indicators and be proactive in managing stress in your department. No matter what employee vacation accrual balance sheet actually indicate, in many cases, professional employees will end this year with a week of unused vacation time. Research indicates employees are more likely to respond to direct pressures from management than to indirect benevolence of corporate policy. So policy or not, many employees do not take their allotted vacation time due to direct or indirect pressures from their senior level bosses or managers. While it's easy to dismiss these pressures, in today's economy, there's always a ready line of replacements for all of our jobs. And many employees will do everything possible to keep in their managers' good graces, including foregoing their vacation time. The downside, of course, is the risk of burnout for really good employees who are highly productive. Foregoing vacation time can wear you down emotionally, leading to exhaustion, negative feelings about your work, and a reduced feeling of accomplishment. You may even find you're absent more often, contemplate leaving your job, and grow less likely to want to help anyone, including your bosses and managers. Recognize your feelings. According to a report on 2,000 employees, 2 in 3 identified high levels of stress, out of control feelings, and extreme fatigue. Identify your tendency for burnout. Research on over 2,000 employees found that burnout is especially acute for newcomers and those who change jobs. If you have recently made a career change, it can help you to know any increase in symptoms should level off after a few years. But keep in mind that each individual experiences stress very differently. So know your feelings and make sure to manage your stress effectively. Talk about your stressors with trusted friends and family members. On the job, you can appropriately discuss your stress factors with colleagues, and hopefully they can help mentor you to reduce your job overload. Build in high physical activity. Research has found that an increase in job burnout and depression was strongest for employees who did not engage in regular physical activity, while it was almost negligible for employees who did engage in regular high physical activity. Physical activity distracts the mind from stressors, enhances feelings of mastery and self-efficacy, and it builds physiological resilience to stress. Take brief breaks throughout your day. For office employees, current experts suggest that you need to spend at least 1 to 2 minutes standing up every hour to combat the effects of all-day sitting. You can take snack breaks, walks, or even small naps to recharge your body and manage stress effectively. Take your vacation. Studies suggest that recovery from stress can happen only if employees are A, physically away from their work, and B, when they're not occupied by work-related duties. So sometimes it helps to change the environment and move away for a few days, for a few weeks from your work environment. This means log off your email accounts, shut off your phone, and put down your pen for the duration of the vacation. As much as possible, remove yourself from the work environment physically as well as mentally. With work only a thumb swipe away nowadays and performance demands being high, it's not always easy to look beyond the next deadline. But to maximize your long-term productivity and avoid the negative outcomes of stress, such as burnout and illnesses, all of which are ultimately harmful to employer aims and employee careers alike, you should not succumb to vacation deficit disorder. Educate and encourage all your employees and managers to make sure they can balance their work life so they can manage their stress effectively at all times. Good luck to you.